Example 3, our first one, is the cosine of 11 pi over 4. So let's draw it out. Here's 0. This would be 4 pi over 4. And 2 pi would be the same as 8 pi over 4. Now we're looking for 11 pi over 4. So with 11 pi over 4, one right below 8 is 7, and one right above is 9. So we haven't gotten 11 yet. So what we need to do is continue to make our markings by, again, just fixing the left and the right-hand sides. Basically, if you look, I'm going from 0 to 4 pi over 4. Adding another 4, I get 8 pi over 4. So if I add another 4, 4 pi over 4 is the same thing as 12 pi over 4. Now I see 12 pi over 4, one less than that is 11 pi over 4. So 11 pi over 4 is going to end up in the second quadrant. Since I'm dealing with pi over 4s, my reference angle is going to be 45 degrees. If I'm looking for the cosine, I'm looking for the x, which is across from a 45-degree angle. So it's going to be negative square root of 2 over 2. If I take a look at letter B, I have the sign of negative 2 pi over 3. This time I'm going in a negative direction, which is pretty similar. We're just rotating the other way. So this here is 0. So here's negative 3 pi over 3. And if I continue to rotate, the top here would be negative 6 pi over 3. So if I'm looking for negative 2 pi over 3, negative 2 pi over 3 is going to be right before negative 3 pi over 3. Remembering I'm rotating this way, so I'm going to get to negative 2 pi over 3 before I get to negative 3 pi over 3. Telling me that negative 2 pi over 3 is going to be in the third quadrant. Since I'm dealing with pi over 3s, my reference angle is 60. And I want the sine, which is across from the 60-degree angle, which would be a negative square root of 3 over 2. If I move on to letter C, I have the tangent of 19 pi over 6. So here's 0, 6 pi over 6. 2 pi is the same as 12 pi over 6. And again, if I think about it, my bigger number, 12, I get to 13, or below that is 11. I need to figure out where 19's at. So I'm going to continue to add 6 pi over 6 each time. So 6 pi over 6 is also the same thing as adding another 6 from 12 would be 18 pi over 6. And there we go. So 18 pi over 6, one more than that would be 19 pi over 6. So I am in the third quadrant. Since I have pi over 6's, my reference angle is 30 degrees, giving this negative 1/2, and across from my 60 would be negative square root of 3 over 2. If I'm looking for that tangent, remember I'm looking to divide. So I'm going to take the y divided by the x. So my y is negative 1/2, and I'm going to divide by negative square root of 3 over 2, which is the same as multiplying by that reciprocal. That gives me 1 over the square root of 3. And rationalizing that, I end up with the square root of 3 over 3. And my last one is the secant of pi. So if I look at the secant of pi, here's 0, here's pi. So I'm right here. That's my ordered pair, negative 1, 0. And if I'm looking for the secant, I'm looking for the reciprocal of the cosine, which is right here. The reciprocal of negative 1 is just negative 1. If you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, pause it, and you can go down to the try this. If you did the try this correctly, number 1 should be undefined. Number 2 should be negative square root of 2. 3 is negative square root of 3 over 3. And 4 is the square root of 3 over 2. Please let me know if you have any questions.